Horace Walpole, born on September 24, 1717, lived a life suspended between the rigid pragmatism of his father, Sir Robert Walpole, and his own restless imagination, while his father, Britain's first Prime Minister and First Lord of the Treasury, was the architect of political stability and power in Georgian England. Horace was drawn to a different sort of architecture, the architecture of the mind, where shadowy corridors led to unexplored realms of fear, beauty, and mystery. It was this divergence from his father's calculated rationality that propelled Horace into the strange and wondrous world of Gothic imagination, culminating in the creation of the Castle of Otranto, the first Gothic novel, and arguably the genesis of modern horror as we know it. Horace was born into privilege, his life steeped in wealth, power, and influence. Yet, he often felt like an outsider within his father's grand designs. Sir Robert was a titan of pragmatism, a man of hard edges and no-nonsense governance. Horace, in contrast, was delicate, sensitive, and consumed by the artistic and the uncanny. While his father worked tirelessly to secure Britain's dominance and his own political legacy, Horace found solace in the escapism of books, the theatre of the mind, and the drama of history. He was educated at Eton and later at King's College, Cambridge, where his fascination with art, literature, and the arcane began to flourish. While his father expected Horace to follow in his footsteps, Walpole's true passion was not in statecraft, but in storytelling, in the kind of tales that tread the thin line between the plausible and the impossible. In his youth, Walpole travelled extensively across Europe, his grand tour providing a fertile landscape for his growing imagination. Italy, in particular, enchanted him. He roamed through ancient ruins and Renaissance cathedrals, absorbing their beauty and their haunting quality. The chiaroscuro of Italian art and architecture, the interplay of light and dark, life and decay, etched itself into his mind and would later become the foundation for his Gothic aesthetic. These experiences stirred something restless within him, a fascination with history, romance, and the sublime terror of the unknown. In 1747, Horace purchased a modest cottage along the Thames at Twickenham, which he would transform into Strawberry Hill, his fantastical Gothic mansion. Over the years, the house evolved into a spectacle of neo-Gothic design, its battlements, spires, and arched windows making it seem plucked from another time entirely. Strawberry Hill became both his retreat and his experiment, a physical manifestation of his imaginative pursuits. It was a place where the medieval and the supernatural blended seamlessly, where the past could haunt the present in ways both literal and symbolic. And it was here, surrounded by the strange beauty of his creation, that Walpole's most famous work would be born. The genesis of the Castle of Otranto is as peculiar as the story itself. Walpole claimed that the novel came to him in a dream, a nightmare to be precise. He saw a vast and terrifying castle, its corridors stretching endlessly into shadow. A giant, ghostly armored hand reached out from the darkness, shattering the mundane world and dragging him into something both alien and familiar. Walpole awoke trembling, his mind fevered with the fragments of a story that begged to be told. He set to work immediately, weaving the threads of his nightmare into a tale that would forever change the literary landscape. Published in 1764, The Castle of Otranto was an anomaly in its time. Subtitled A Gothic Story, it was unlike anything the literary world had seen before. The novel blended elements of medieval romance, knights, castles, and ancient curses, with supernatural horror, a genre that had previously been relegated to folklore and superstition. Its plot was melodramatic, filled with crumbling fortresses, doomed lovers, ghostly apparitions, and tragic destinies. At its core, it was a tale of power, hubris, and the inescapable grasp of the past. A reflection, perhaps, of Walpole's own struggles with the shadow of his father's legacy. The story centers on Manfred, the tyrannical ruler of the castle, who is desperate to secure his dynasty after a curse threatens his bloodline. When his son is crushed to death by a mysterious, enormous helmet, a manifestation of the curse, Manfred descends into madness, driven to horrific lengths to preserve his power. The narrative spirals into a series of supernatural events. Ghostly nights, ancient prophecies, and divine retribution intertwine with human greed and folly. The castle itself becomes a character. Its darkened halls and crumbling towers echoing the psychological torment of those within. It is a place where the boundaries between the real and the unreal collapse, where the shadows conceal both horrors and truths. At first, Walpole presented the novel as a translation of an ancient manuscript, claiming it was a genuine medieval tale. This ruse, a clever Gothic flourish in itself, added to the mystery of the work. But when the truth emerged that the Castle of Otranto was entirely Walpole's invention, it was met with both fascination and scorn. The novel's supernatural elements, so shocking at the time, were dismissed by some as absurd and melodramatic, yet others recognized its brilliance. It captured the zeitgeist of a changing world, where the Enlightenment's obsession with reason was beginning to give way to Romanticism's embrace of emotion, imagination, and the sublime. Walpole's work became the blueprint for the Gothic genre, influencing writers such as Anne Radcliffe, Mary Shelley, Bram Stoker, and beyond. What makes the Castle of Otranto so enduring is not just its ghosts or its curses, but its ability to tap into something deeply human. Our fear of the past, our anxiety about power, and our endless fascination with the unknown. Walpole created a story where the sins of the fathers literally crush the sons, where history refuses to remain buried, and where the sacred is never far from the profane. In many ways, the novel mirrors the stained glass windows of Strawberry Hill, fractured, ambiguous, and shimmering with light and shadow. It invites us to look deeper, to see beyond the surface, and to confront the unease that lies within. By creating the Castle of Otranto, Horace Walpole not only gave birth to a new genre, but also immortalized himself as the father of the Gothic. His legacy endures in every haunted house, every cursed family, and every shadowy figure that stalks the pages of Gothic literature. Walpole, the man who built a Gothic dream out of stone and glass, also constructed a literary tradition that continues to haunt our imaginations to this day. And much like the castle in his novel, his creation lingers, its echoes felt in every creak of the floorboards and every flicker of candlelight, reminding us that the past is never truly gone.